My name's Chris Phillips. I'm a technical architect and an AI geek, and I'm in the consultancy gig economy now, and my organization's Adiuco. We're looking at these things with Lovable, and it's astounding. And one of the things when I was talking to Haya the last week was really this is about minimal viable product prototyping kind of stuff. And I don't know how many other people are using lovable.dev. Anyone? I'm looking, really not that many. Okay. My hope tonight, in the very brief time that we have, is that we're going to be able to give you, or let's say wet your taste on getting into it. So, interesting, there's only a few people. I thought there would be a lot more, so I think this is a greenfield opportunity. So MVP, minimal viable product. You may either hear another newer term, minimal lovable product. Not as a play on the words, but viable product is like just get it past the door so I could test the idea and say, is this gonna work? Does the community want this? And the minimal lovable product is, I think I know what they want, can I make this really good? And is that what my customer base is gonna come in? What we're going to look at tonight is the Lovable. So think of this as what's the stack. Lovable is the idea to app in seconds. It's a build environment, uses AI, and it does all the heavy lift. Anything that you see I'm going to take a look at, what I've done is I've had my code checking into GitLab in a CI/CD environment, a continuous integration, continuous deployment. I use Netlify as just hosting. So this is very $0. I'm using all the free tier on stuff. And on Supabase, that's the Postgres database. And for anything that I've published to some of the things that you may see me take a demo, it's through my Cloudflare ingress. And so Cloudflare is doing my certificate management and my proxy management and my web application firewall. So all that protect me from DDoS and any of those other things that you wanted to enforce. This stack is really easy, and it's actually $0 for any of it. Does anyone have any questions? So I was told that, hey, not so many slides, which is great. So there's only a few others. So at the end, I have a couple of references about developing full stack without writing any code. There's Lovable's recorded sessions themselves on LinkedIn. And there's a couple other, these are all YouTube videos. And I learned from doing. So these are great resources that we can post somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be on the Discord channel, wherever it needs to be. But let's get into it. So I said, on one of the Lovable things, what does it look like? Well, I've signed in. If I go back out, this is my project for my website. I built this through Lovable, and it's really just the website. You have a question? No?
I'll just zoom in a little.
Okay, zoom in a bit. Yeah. So the interface, I was doing something with Hannah and Carl just a few minutes ago. This is where you launch. This is your prompt. So when you're building an application, you can say, give me a voting booth. Give me a ERP SaaS, ERP software as a service. If you had, I want a Lego kit building as a service or something. You can give your prompt here, and when you're in the free tier, what happens is you're working in the public case. And all these are happening, these are my projects right now. You'll see I have one I just did a few moments ago, just a quick voting one as a demo. This is the website we were just looking at, and I have another one for shopping on scrapbooking stuff and one of my landing pages. But what happens is you build publicly. Oh, I'm not seeing it. So if you look at the latest that's going by, there's about I'm told there's about 500,000 people a day using and building through Lovable. And so what happens is you're building in the public. So now you see what's happening in all those other templates and all those other prompts. And whoops, I just tapped on one of them. Oh, super risky. and I'll go away from that. Wow.
1000% on purpose.
That's awesome. Not. So these are just those apps that are being built. And you can see there's a bit of common theme. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat that? 500K users, all on free tier on Olio?
Well, they're building. As I understand it, when they had a problem on GitHub, they actually had, about 2 weeks ago, they had a problem where they were overloading GitHub on the commits from their users. And that's what, if you take a look at Lovable on their news report on what they were talking about, gives you an idea of just the number of people that were building on it. So, which was why I was a little surprised that no one has heard about it in here. So you may have heard bolt.new or Vercel's v0, similar vein of things. And really what happens is you can prompt yourself to your solution, really. So one of the things I was going to show, so right now I have, this is what's deployed right now to my Netlify. So I have my website, adiyuko.com. That is entirely built inside Lovable. Then I committed the code to GitLab, or GitHub, sorry. And then I have that automatically deploying. So what I was going to do, and I'm going to give that a shot, is just do a live edit. So you can see it. Go to my projects. Go to my web 7 hours ago. Oh, that's 6 minutes.
Keep going.
Keep going? Okay. So if I scroll up here a bit, that's the prompt. I wanted a professional one-page website for my stuff. And I have all my details. I had some of the styling. And it said, thumbs up, I'm going to do it. It built the necessary environment, deployed it, and it deploys it in a preview environment that you can see live to yourself. You don't see it at my domain, the .com domain, until I deployed it to Netlify. And that deployment is not from the command and control here. It could be, but what I have is a very flat site. It doesn't have any databasing. It just says exist. So if you wanted to go a different route and say GitHub Pages is another way to do it too. If you're in the GitHub page land, you have to create this content with something. Either you're doing it by hand or you're choosing a template, and you go from there. But what I was going to do is I have a contact us here. So if I do that, I'll just say, I think I set it to info. So it's jumped down here. So what's going to happen now is I'm not going to have to open a Visual Studio, go in, change the mail to from whatever, I think it was Chris at adiyuko.com. It's now statically changing it to info. And what will happen is it's just going to take care of it for me. It rebuilt it, so that React app is rebuilt live locally. And I don't know if it has a commit. It's committed, so the GitHub connection is up over here. I already have it connected to Git. If I go look at my site, let's take a look at my deployments. It's building right now. And so continuous integration, continuous deployment, CI/CD is happening. So, and it's updating the contact email address. I didn't even put in the git command or the git commit and the stuff. It's just doing it for me. So it's building, and it'll be up in just a moment. So I don't have to worry about the deploy. So if you're doing application building and you're doing anything that you have an idea for, you want that minimal viable product, this is really, really useful to get there. And I just want to be really mindful on time with the other speakers as well. This is just it's like the tip of the iceberg on some of the information. And if you have an app or you have some questions, I'm here and I'm findable. I'm on the the Discord channel. And yeah.
Do you take questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Red in the back.
So I do have one question. You were mentioning showing your stack in the beginning that you have Supabase and stuff like that. How does it handle the model data and like modeling the data as authentication, authorization, or any of those sort of stuff, or is it just purely
Awesome question. So what happens is Lovable delegates into, the question for the others, so everyone heard, was what happens to all that database stuff about if I wanted to authenticate someone into the application. Lovable uses Supabase, the authentication environment. So the React environment delegates that to Supabase, and Supabase has an extremely robust authentication stack. If I go look at Supabase for a second, I tap over to here, I go to authentication. Right now you see, if I go look to providers, these are all the authentication providers. If you're writing your own authentication stack, stop. Don't. Because what happens is, if you write it, you got to maintain it. You have to maintain it for CVEs, you have to maintain it for integrity, you have to maintain it with API keys that change, or any of those things. What happens here is you can just choose to turn on something. I'm firmly in the SAML2 land, but I've enabled only email on this one. I can do SMS and use different providers. So instead of just saying, hey, can you do this? Here's the code on your phone. Does that answer your question? Awesome. There was a question over here.
Same thing.
Oh, okay. This is a very rich part of it. And on the application side, you haven't seen, there's a lot more here. So yeah, go for it.
This is fantastic. I see the value proposition of this. One of the issues that I've always hit with services like these is the point of human intervention. What kinds of challenges did you run into when building this and putting stuff into production? At what point did you hit the need for human intervention?
So you're familiar with the pre-production and a production kind of environment, so a bit more IT controls on some of the things. Interesting call out. So right now, this is very, think of it as solopreneur kind of model, where whatever you build, you're deploying, and whatever you want to deploy, you link to. And if you want to get into more robust, there are ways. Right now, as I'm using it, I'm those controls. So that changed, like for instance, on the email address, that went straight onto the main line and it went out. It didn't go through any IT review. It didn't go through any of those gut check moments. Now that was just an email address. So there's other things, like if I'm changing database schema and I'm adding, let's say, extra fields to a database, there's migrations, there's all sorts of packaging that comes along. It will handle it. There's no user saying, stop, do this. Although Lovable says, do you want to assess this? Do you accept it? It asks, which is fantastic. So there's a balance point where it becomes fantastic, and OMG, I need a little IT control.
Yeah, the context behind it was that you changed the email address in production, you probably have it coming from a CMS, right? So just for the sake of the demo, that was the example. I was thinking that if you need to make database changes, then it has to do the US migration. That's when you would hit and see.
It will automatically do the migrations,
Okay.
and there is a for everyone else in the room.
Yeah.
Not everyone may live in that world of I have this build gold environment first, and then gets QA'd or it gets reviewed, and then says yes, make that, take it to production, do the migration. This one is operating on the production environment. Now, I'm operating on the main branch, doesn't mean I should. It means I could probably be better on using another branch that's called development, or use a more feature branching kind of mindset. But it also gets into the point of like how many other people are doing it. If you think about what's happening now, is each of us in the room now have that power, as do any of your program managers or anyone that says, hey, I want to prove this idea out. I want to take this and make it to that. So there's lots of interesting things here.
One more question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So do we have control over the tech stack of an application? For example, the front-end framework that we are using, the backend database, etc.
In this particular case, I believe Lovable is React only and uses Supabase. If you want full control, there's other technologies available that, that you can run locally, as in this kind of framework, but you may not get the same convenience. But really what happens is all the activity moves towards, hey, did you write that prompt really well? So if you wrote the prompt really well, gave it to the AI and say, you know what, I want to use not React, I want to use Node.js, I want to use not Postgres, I want to use AWS Aurora, you would have to plumb that in, but it's entirely doable as well. So there's other platforms too. I think Vercel's V0 probably has that flexibility, but it also means you have to know it. So if you're just, give me a voting app, or if you just give me my application, you don't have to burden the user on that. But if you're looking at retrofitting existing code base, that's where I would look at maybe something a little bit different, but inspired by this. So there's tons of options. So I want to say thanks for the time. This has been a great community to connect with, and I want to keep connecting.